In this video, I'm going to be replacing a fuel pressure regulator on this 2003 Chevy Failblazer with the inline 6-cylinder engine. What's up everybody, welcome back to the Rainier channel. I'm going to start off this video by giving a little disclaimer. This is old footage from when I did the valve cover gasket and intake gasket and throttle body gasket replacement on this 03 Failblazer. While I was doing that, I noticed that there was fuel in the airbox resonator and other things like water and oil. I think there's blow by real bad on this thing. Anyway, it led me to find that the fuel pressure regulator was bad. So you're going to see some footage on this video where the engine compartment's in various stages of disassembly. Just kind of ignore that. Just really focus on how I'm getting the fuel pressure regulator off and all that stuff. So enjoy the video. Alright, the first thing I want to do is pull the fuel pump relay to be able to relieve the fuel pressure out of the fuel lines. I'm going to get into the fuse box. Fuse number 41, F pump, so fuel pump, which is this dude right here. I'm going to turn the key. Fuel pump does not kick on, obviously. So we're just going to turn the engine and let the engine consume the fuel out of the fuel lines and get rid of the pressure. And that should do it. Alright, now I'm going to disconnect the negative battery cable. The next step I'm going to do is remove the intake resonator. I'm actually going to go ahead and remove the box, snorkel, and resonator. You really only need to disconnect the clamp at the resonator and at the throttle body to get the resonator box off. Again, I was doing the whole intake manifold and valve cover gasket thing, so I got everything out of the way. You really only need to remove the intake resonator. You need to get a screwdriver right here, then there's an electrical connection right here. We gotta get that just all unsnaps. And now we've got two 10mm bolts I need to remove. Alright, with those two bolts out, there's another clamp on the throttle body. You need to loosen that. There's a vacuum line on this side of the intake. Right here, that goes to the fuel pressure regulator. So that's got to unplug. Got the PCV, that's got to be unplugged from the valve cover. And that just slides off. This is where I noticed the issue with the fuel in the intake box. It was a lot. Getting fuel blow by coming in from my PCV. It's got oil. Pretty messed up. This thing has not been running very good. Next, I unclip this wiring harness right here at the front of the engine on this bracket above the alternator. Moving this out of the way gives us some room to access the fuel pressure regulator directly. Alright, the fuel pressure regulator is located right here. I believe I've got a bad diaphragm in here. This regulator works off a vacuum and it's hooked into the intake box. I think the diaphragm's bad in there. It's allowing gas to get into the vacuum system and got into my air box. So I'm going to go ahead and replace this with a brand new one. My fuel line, took my screwdriver and just popped off this clip. Now I've got a line, quick disconnect tool. I'll put on this. Try to get this fuel line off. Alright, I use my quick disconnect line tool to disconnect the two gas lines right there. So I've got a T30 wrench right here. I'm going to get this out of this fuel pressure regulator and then remove this one. Two bolts are out now, so we're ready to remove it. And that just pops out of the bottom. And I'm just wiggling it and it's popping loose. Okay. I'm going to use my rag and kind of clean the surface off of this a little bit. It looks a little varnished, pretty dirty. Okay, I've got the mounting plate all cleaned off. You can see how much better that looks. I've got my new part. It's part number 21714445. The GM number is 888-94176. Alright, it comes with a new O-ring. You can see that that old one has the O-ring down in it. We're going to need to do the same for this so that the male end of our fuel line can pop in there and have a good seal. I'm going to very carefully put this O-ring in here. But it looks like it's seated in there pretty good. Alright, we're ready to tighten that down. Alright, just for giggles, I'm going to put a little thread locker on these screws because I don't want these to back out or loosen and all of a sudden I've got a big fuel leak. Again, this is a T30 Torx. Well, boogers. Where'd that go? Alright, that's all back in nice and tight. Put that dude back on there. Put the fuel lines back on. Click means we're in business. Okay, next I'm just going to plug in that fuel pump relay. Oh yeah, I can't forget to hook up the battery. Anybody else find it annoying to have to reset your clock and all that stuff inside the car whenever you disconnect the battery? Alright, now I'm ready to turn the key, prime the fuel, and see if we get any leaks out of this fuel pressure regulator, and then we'll fire this puppy up. Okay, I don't see any gas, or I certainly don't smell it. So I think we're good to go. I'll go ahead and crank this up and see if it'll start.